2019 Paper 2, Question 18. So we have a snowman. It's a good time to make this video because it's Christmas in a week. So we have this diagram and we're given some information. Pause the video if you want to have a look at the information and maybe attempt the question yourself, but otherwise I will continue. So the head is a small circle, centre S, with diameter 15 centimetres. The body is part of the larger circle. The points A and B lie on the circumferences, and T is on the circumference of the small circle. I have to calculate CD is the height of the snowman. So CD is this. If you have a look, we have CT and TD. So CD so going to let H be the length of CD, or the height CD. So we need to find CT and TD. Now we know CT because the head has diameter 15. Now the distance CT has to be 15 because CT, this point C, is on the circumference of the small circle, and so is T, and it goes through the centre S, and we're told that's the centre S, and we're told that T is on the circumference. The hints are all in the question. You just have to read the question and know what to do with the information. So what we then have to do is we have to calculate the length of TD. And most pupils looking at this question were so confused because there's not much information. Well, at first glance, there might not be much information, but if you want to have a look at this, we know the distance TS is the radius of the small circle, and so is this. But what if we had the line from T to B? Well, this has to be a right angle because ST and SB are perpendicular, and BT, well, B is on the circumference of the big circle and the small circle, so it's on the circumference of the big circle. So if T is the centre of the big circle and B is on the circumference, then TB must be a radius. So we know that TB is the radius. And we know that is right angled, as I said, because we have the chord. Because this is the big circle and the bit we've cut off. this line is the chord. So because that green line is a chord, we then know that ST and SB are then perpendicular to each other. So we can use Pythagoras to then find TB, and the length of TB has to be the same as TD because D lies on the circumference of the big circle and so does B. So both TB and TD are both the same length, the radius of the big circle. So we can use Pythagoras on SBT. SBT. We get 7.5. Do not put 15 into this because that's the diameter of the small circle. Put 7.5, the radius. And ST is also 7.5. And we'll put this in. A top tip in any of these questions is you want to draw the sketch of the triangle or the triangles that you want to apply Pythagoras to, and you have to put this square, or you have to write 90 degrees to let the marker know that this is a right angle, because in most questions you can get a mark just for extracting this shape out of this, but you do have to make it clear that it's a right angle. So the next step is we're going to find the length of TB. We get TB squared equals TS squared plus SB squared, because we want to find the hypotenuse, and we substitute SB and TS because both of them are the smaller sides. We put them on the right hand side. We are going to plug this into the calculator, and we want to find out what 7.5 squared plus 7.5 squared, that's 112.5, and we have TB is the square root. If we want to square root this, we're going to keep a good few decimal places. We'll keep 4 at the minute, so that's 10.6066. And that 10.6066 is the radius of the big circle. And we can then write a sentence here that B and D, so B and D both on the circumference of the large circle. Of centre T. and hence TD equals TB, and that also equals 10.6066. And the last step is to notice that the height CD is CT plus TD, as we said, so height equals CD equals CT plus TD. And CT is the diameter of the small one, so 15, and TD is 10.6066. And we get 25.6066. And the units are centimeters with linear units because we have a height. So to 1 decimal place, we get that the height equals 25.6 centimeters. And that's us finished. The hardest part was knowing that you had to use Pythagoras in this question. A lot of pupils simply didn't know how to start the question. We will have a look at how the SQA marked this. The first mark would be for this. The second mark would be for that. The third mark would be for getting that. And the last mark would be for the final answer. You would get no marks for doing no working in this question. So like with most questions, you want to make sure that you show that. And another common mistake, as I said, was you would lose the mark if you didn't show that this was right angled. And in this case, they've said to disregard errors with rounding early, known as premature rounding. But in many questions that won't be the case, so you always, as I always do, you want to leave at least 2 to 3 more decimal places in your answer, then round it at the end. No rounding was specified in the question, so I decided to round it off to 1 decimal place, and that's the minimum they've accepted, so that's fine. So I hope you found that video useful. This is the solution again, and thank you for watching. Best of luck with the studying.